Hi, welcome to Module 5, the Seascape Module 5, where we paint a broken pirate ship and a Kraken just reaching up and it's awesome. One of my favorite paintings of all time. I literally made this painting on a 24 by 30 inch canvas last night, and tonight I'm teaching you how to do it, right? Oh, it's amazing. It's literally amazing. And that's what's so cool. Everyone's going to look a little different. It's never going to come out exactly the same, so you don't really have to worry. But we're going to try not to paint anything here, okay? Might not make any sense until we get rolling and I explain. We're just trying to save some dark color. So don't paint all the dark, right? All the dark. We gotta save it. We're not gonna paint. So I hope you're ready to not paint this scene. And if you are, get out your supplies and throw your apron on. Hopefully by now you have a Happy Little Landscapes apron, and let's see how dirty you can get, right? And we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it just like this. Hi, welcome to Module 5. I've taken the canvas here. We have a 12 by 24 inch black canvas, got from Hobby Lobby, just down the road. And I've taken the Bob Ross liquid clear and covered it in the liquid clear in the smallest amount you can possibly use in order to cover a size like this. And then we're going to take a paper towel and just scrubbing really hard, wipe a lot of the liquid clear off. Right, some of the times, depending on the quality of your black canvas, it will pull off a little bit of the black colors. No need to worry about that. And now our canvas is still slick, it's still wet, and so we're going to go at it and paint a little pirate ship today. Hopefully the photo came out well. Again, I'm going to make this one up right as we go along, and that's how I like to paint. I like showing you how you can make a mistake and we can fix it on the fly and just really come up with something just right out of your head. So if yours doesn't look like mine, don't worry, right? Today we're going to have phthalo green, dark sienna, Prussian blue, the darker colored blues, alizarin crimson, midnight black, titanium white, bright red, and cad yellow. You can use Indian yellow or yellow ochre, whatever you have. Whatever color you have from whatever brand you have. If it's brown, you know, flush it down. All right. Now we've got our nice slick colors up here. Now let's take these and we're going to pull out some of this Prussian blue, real dark color blue. We'll pull it out and tap our bristles into it just like this. And I'm going to have to do a little holding of my canvas, and that way it's, you know, hopefully it doesn't fall out too many times. So we have the Prussian blue, and let's just say I really want to make this yellowy orange sky, so let's go about halfway up our canvas with our Prussian blue. We're just going to drop it onto the canvas and work it in this transparent color, right? We learned about this in our last module. And we're going to do this in our next module, the Skullscape. Who's excited for the Skullscape? That's my question. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the phthalo green. I'm going to tap it down. Didn't wash the brush, didn't do anything. Still has the blue on there. And let's drop the phthalo green down underneath it. Okay, and to you and me, it doesn't look like there's any color on the canvas, but if you look at the brush, there definitely is a color being deposited here. All right, maybe this one comes in front this way. So we have this line of blue, and then phthalo green, and then phthalo green, so it's kind of making this thing down here. And that's just how it's coming out, right? So we can work with that and not cover everything. Maybe over on this side it'll change color. So we have the darker blue down here, kind of going along with that. And then we'll put the phthalo green up top over here. And now they're almost crisscrossed. And I haven't covered the middle really, so let's cover the middle and kind of mix both of those two together. And now we have our water painted, right? Doesn't look like there's anything there, but trust me, there will be color there. And the cool part about it is that when we go to use our mainly white paint, which is how we're going to be highlighting everything, just like we did in the last module, that everything will pick up all these different colors and change, and we won't have to do a whole lot of anything. We're going to work a little bit in the sky today to try to get these, you know, yellows and reds to really stay bright against our black canvas. And we've got a pirate ship in mind, a little Kraken coming out of the water. It's going to be fantastic, you guys. I'm so excited. This is like our last big project before the end of school, right? We got this one project to do, and then the next class is sort of a free day class where we're just going to make this crazy huge ocean, little skull-shaped rock that sits down at the bottom, and it's going to be on a nice big canvas. It's going to be fantastic. Oh, can't wait. Let's just skip that class, and we'll go over to number 6, okay? You guys ready? Just like... Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. The magic didn't work that time. Okay. Now, in order to keep our bright colors, like our yellows and reds, you know, bright up against this black canvas, we're going to mix them with a little bit of white. And you can mix it and then sort of test a little area, do a little test spot, and see if that's as bright as you want it to be, or if you want it to be a little bit brighter, you can make it a little bit brighter. And you just keep going and keep going. Okay, don't mind the coloration on this brush. It is clean and dry. I promise. Let's see, we're going to go right through that yellow. Get it on both sides. I like to pull down vertically with the brush, like this, you see what I mean? And then I flip it over, and we pull vertically in the other direction. Because and then you can tap it in. You get this nice distribution of color in your brush to where it's not goopy and thick on one side. It's very nice. And the way you do that is you just tap it, right? We don't want, when we're painting on black canvases, we're not painting, right? We're trying not to cover everything. You want to have more black than anything else. So, we're not going to paint a seascape today, okay? Alright, decide on where you want your clouds to live, right? And let's say maybe from over here we're going to drop that yellow on, and oh my heck, look at the color. It is beautiful. Leaving little areas of black, not really touching a whole lot. Now, if we come down too far, we're going to start to mix in with our green color there. So remember to stay above wherever you dropped in your transparent colors. Now, I grabbed a little bit of the red from over here. We're going to mix it in with some of that yellow. Bringing it down, tapping it in, and all of a sudden we have this different color on our brush. It's not yellow, it's not red. It's a little orange and in between, right? Now maybe we'll come up here, and again, leaving dark areas in our clouds. Don't want everything to be the same. Look at that. And we're not blending anything together yet. We're just kind of dropping the colors on, seeing how they look, seeing where we might think we need a little bit extra. Say we need a little bit extra yellow up in here. And again, that's a different color than the reds and the yellows behind it. We grab a little bit of white, a little bit of crimson, and make this beautiful pink color, nice dark color. And you can make it very light on yours if you wanted to. You really could. It's all depends on how much white you mix with it, right? Now we almost look like we have, just out of, you know, sheer luck, the way that we laid it out. It almost looks like our bright area is over here, and then we get a little bit darker, a little bit darker. Not a planned thing, right? And which is what's so great about this technique. Now let's go into this blue. A little bit of blue and purple over here. And just so it's not black, right? If you really, really, really look at it, you'll be able to see some blues and purples in there. So it's not 100% black. Now I really liked, maybe we'll take some of that crimson, mix it with the red, mix it with the yellow, all down in here. And maybe we'll put it up here towards the top, just so we have just a little. You don't want a giant section of your clouds missing with this dark bit in between. So just add a little. Now I'm going to get a clean dry brush, and we're going to come in here to our lightest area, and we're going to start blending it out, just very softly, because I don't want everything to change. I don't want to lose these darker areas. So we're just very softly. Some of the areas like this, it's very, very thick on there. You just have to work at it a little bit more until you can blend it to your level of likeness, right? Just very soft. We're not trying to move the clouds here. We're just trying to make them soft and far away. That's really it. Any color that gets deposited down underneath here, like a little bit of fog or something here, is going to play into having our ship. You know, we'll decide on which side we want our ship on. And that way, that'll kind of provide some color we can bounce all of our other ship colors off of, right? And our ship, it's got to be in ship shape, because if it's not a ship shape, then you're gonna not have a ship shape. If you understand that, right? That's the test for the day. Maybe we could throw the ship over here against the yellow. In which case, we need a little bit more brighter yellow area. Right? And then we can throw our ship-shaped ship into a ship-shaped seashells by the seashore. See, we just constantly just mess around in class. Can you take it seriously, instructor? I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. Okay. We've got all these beautiful colors blended out, and it's so light and such a little amount of paint that you can literally take it and blend it back and forth across your whole sky and not take any color from one side to the other side, right? Now it seems as though I had a little bit too much paint thinner onto my brush there. And it wanted to mess around with my sky. You have to have a nice, clean, dry brush. So take the time to clean it. Make it nice and dry. Got a little brush hair off there. That was a giant one. Now we have all this dark sea we can play with, right? All this beautiful. This side I left a little bit higher on the horizon. As you can see, it's kind of growing this way. That's because we're going to have a lot of big choppy water over here. And then we'll have all these beautiful greens and blues throughout our sea. And we can even bring the water right up here. Maybe we'll have a giant rock. You guys have already seen the picture, right? I'm just thinking out loud of how we're gonna throw it together. And if I have to get into your way every so often, I'm going to get out of it as soon as possible, okay? Got to be able to see what I'm doing over here, guys. That way you guys get a beautiful picture to look at, right? Okay, let's wash these brushes off. Again, we want to make sure that they're very dry, so hit them with the paper towel a few times. Set them off to the side, right? Now, in a painting like this, you shouldn't need to dunk your brush in a whole lot into your paint thinner because we're really only using about 1/4 inch of the bristles on the end. That's how lightly we're trying to do everything, right? Because we're trying not to paint. You guys are like, is this a trick question? Is he being serious? I'm being deadly serious. We are trying not to cover all the dark. Right? All of this stuff. All this is our water. All this stuff down here. So, in a very dark scene, maybe the sun's on its last leg. It's just maybe it's gone over the horizon just barely. But we're still getting all these last little bits of color in the sky. You're not going to have super bright blue water, right? It's going to be very, very dark. But it's going to be highlight in certain areas. It's going to kind of lead us to where we want us to go, right? Just stop talking and start painting, Josh. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We're going to get a little bit of the white, just a pure titanium white, because again, we already have those dark colors that we laid down initially. If you skip that part, then you need to go back and lay in these dark colors like that, because when we start making our water, we're not going to have to do anything. Watch this. It's going to do it all on its own. I have a very little amount of paint on the brush, okay? Not a whole lot. You pull it all the way down here. Just want a little bit of it. Now we can come in and just with our little rocking motion, look at it change to that phthalo green. Look at that. My heck. Look at that. It's amazing. Right? The more and more we go, the more it's going to change. See, it's turning blue over here because we had all that blue. But we're not trying to cover everything. We're leaving darker areas like that middle section. Right? We're coming along. Let me show you over here, okay? Just down here a little bit. We're going to come over here. We're going to skip down, right? Then come back, and then maybe connect again. So you leave this patch of dark out there. Because all these are little highlights at the tip tops of our waves. Okay, so you don't have to worry about painting the entire wave or painting the entire bit of water. It's all going to do it on our own. Okay, now as we get further over here away from the sun, we're going to have less and less light to be able to reach over here. So let's paint less and less water. And look at it turn more blue as we come over here. It is amazing. I love this technique where you can drop your color on. Okay, over here to the side, we're not even going to go all the way to the edge. We want it nice and dark. It's a very deep, dark, sunset-y feel to this painting, okay? Now, we're not going to try to paint everything, right? Maybe we come up here, we leave that little open area just like that, because you don't need to cover it all. And then we'll come back in this. Now we're back into that phthalo green. And we haven't touched anything. This is the coolest technique if you want to paint in front of your friends or your family. You don't let them see you cover the canvas with the dark colors, right? Bring everybody in and say, okay guys, I'm ready. Everybody sit down. I'm going to use just plain white. We're going to go right through the white, show everybody. I'm going just white. That's all I'm using. And then you come in here and all these colors start to appear. And everyone's like, how are you doing that? It's magic, right? It is magical. There we go. Again, you don't have to cover everything. Leave these open areas. It looks much cooler if it's not all the same color, right? The water is never on the same level. It's never all the same color or shape. So don't let it be, right? And again, we're not going to go to the edge. It's the light can't reach that far. Then we have all these beautiful little bits back here. And again, we're trying not to cover our dark colors. That's it. We're trying not to paint a seascape here. On our nice dry brush, right? Double tap, make sure it's dry. Then we're going to come across back and forth just as straight as you can be. Sort of giving it a little bit of pressure. Right? That's going to blend all those nice and soft. Still going to leave those nice dark areas back there. And it's just going to turn out just fantastic. How many times have I said that already? It's going to be fantastic. It's even a little bit brighter underneath here, which we can incorporate into a, you know, maybe there's a big creature that's living down in there that's going to come up and grab a ship. Or we can throw our ship off over here. Kind of build him up so he's sat up higher. He's on this big cliff or a big kind of swell of water. Oh, it's going to be great. All the different places you can go from a painting like this, right? It's very bright. It's very striking against this black canvas, but it's not overly bright, and it's not just blasting us in the face, right? We don't need it to be super obvious. We all know it's water, and we all know that the sun is only going to hit the water at different points throughout your ocean as it's moving, right? It's never just a stagnant bit of water out there. I love how we didn't even finish off the edges of the clouds. It just looks like it's dark. It's just the sun is already around the horizon. It's just straining to get the last little bit. I really like how the water's looking right here, though. Again, you can mix it until you like the way that it looks. Out here, again, doesn't have to be so bright because the light can only reach so far. But it is looking great. I love this nice, deep, dark area underneath where the water is in the cloud. It separates it like that. You could leave yours just like that if you wanted to. But we're going to create a bigger kind of swell of water. Now, in order to do that, we're going to have to start shaping how we want it to look, right? So you got to plan it out in your mind how you want to see it and how you want it to look, and then we're going to sort of make it happen. So let's say we've got these big bits of like crashing wave that are coming in from over here, right? Doesn't the light kind of determines how far away it is. You know, your level of brightness and the size are going to determine whether it's real far off or whether it's nice and close. Now I want to leave a little bit of that darker color in between, and then come up over here, and we're going to drop in a whole nother section, even coming above our horizon, because there's going to be something there. Just by pushing in and pulling away is literally it. And what's making the cool shape is not the tip of the brush, like we say all the time, and that we say a lot in the next module. It's how the paint has climbed up the brush, right? So it's not down here along the edge. It's what's halfway up the bristles that's making our cool little splashing shape, right? Now I'm going to take these. Let's see. We can just take our bottom of our fan brush, because it's very thin, and just sort of pull them out on a kind of a 45-degree angle. Okay, all this stuff over here is just base color for our water if we're not going to use it. Okay, now if we're going to have a ship right here, our ship is now positioned here, because I like this light orange area. It's going to provide a background for a dark silhouette of a ship to be right there, right? If you put a dark silhouette, you know, against this dark line, it's going to be very difficult to see. So this is going to be our water. We could have done it in reverse and actually put the one in the back in first, which would probably be easier. Well, we want to make it a challenge. This is the advanced class, right? Not that Josh forgot or anything, it's just the advanced class. That's what we're going to say. Alright, now, I want to kind of save my ship, depending on how big, your ship is, how your ship shape is. Alright, let's not get back into that. That determines how far away your ship is from us, right? We could put in a nice bit of beach down here at the bottom, some nice sand, and you'd be looking at a ship getting swallowed up back there. Or you could add, we could change the perspective of it and add, like, we're in the water. Maybe we're in by some large rocks and we can't really see what's going on. So, all depends on what you want it to look like and how big your ship is. Okay, so I want to have mine pretty big. Not humongous, but pretty big. And if I want that, I'm just going to, just for my own eyes, let's see, there's another bit of crash right here. Maybe we'll put our ship in this little section. But just for my own brain, I like to kind of throw it out there and see what it's going to look like. And then if we cover over it with our ship or as we're going, then we always know we can stick it right back there, fairly easily. So let's take a step back and look at this thing. Now you can tell I don't like to make a lot of edits when we're doing our videos, because I feel that, if I was paying for a video and I was watching a person and they left the screen, or the video clicked and suddenly I was in a different spot, you know what I mean? And what am I doing in between those times? This is what I would think if I were you. Like, what is the artist doing that they don't want us to see, right? And I don't like having videos like that. So the majority of my videos are very much not a lot of cuts, because I want to be here with you. I want to be in your painting room or in your living room with you and kind of showing you how to create these really cool scenes, right? That's how I think, anyway. There we go. Lost the palette knife for a second. Okay, so I painted one other pirate ship before we did this module, right? Just to show you that, again, you don't need a whole lot of experience or anything. You just need to learn what shapes the brushes make. And then once you know what shapes they make in every which way possible that you can turn the brush, then in your mind you go, I want to paint a pirate ship, and that would be cool because I know how the shape works with the fan brush. I could get the cool splash and all this other thing. So I painted one earlier with a filbert brush, and it came out kind of good, but it was sort of round in the front. The perspective wasn't really great, and that's why I came up with the idea to have it swallowed by a Kraken, and that's why we're doing this module today, because I really want to have it down on how to create it. So lucky for you, it became a class module, and then we can do it here tonight. Let's see. All right, I want to make up a ship color, like a base color of my shadows, and we know, by this amount, especially if you've gone through the beginner landscapes class, what kind of color we're mixing up here, right? I don't need to tell you that it's crimson, blue, and black to make our shadowy color. Now, I did the other one with a filbert brush, but I didn't like the shape. It didn't seem very pointy on the front, therefore my perspective was weird, and it just looked, again, that's why I had it swallowed by a Kraken, which turned into the best painting I've ever painted in my life, and I hope we're going to be able to recreate that right here. Alright, so now I'm going to use a filbert, a palette knife, just because I want to get the shape of that, the front of the boat is going to be this angled, pointy shape, and then it's going to go down, you know what I mean? Like the palette knife should be able to create the shape for us fairly easily. So we're going to find out. Let's see, I want to have it, up above my waves, because it's going to grow down a little bit, and we can always make the waves bigger, you know what I mean? Well, let's put the front of our boat's going to be on a little bit of an angle. I'm going to kind of rotate the knife like that, just so we make like or this is cool if you have one of those longer bits of knife that aren't this shape, that one you just press on. It's almost that exact shape that I just made right there with that knife. Okay, we're going to come down. Some of it's going to go into the water, so we don't have to worry about painting the bottom of it. We just want to make sure that the top of it has this right perspective, like it's going to be blowing this way. And then we're going to fill it in right there, and now all of a sudden we've got this little boat shape. And it might be a little bit difficult for you guys to see right now, but I need to highlight it, and then it's going to shine right through. It's going to be fantastic. Maybe this guy even has like one of those, it's like a pirate ship that has one of those larger rear cabins where the captain sits. It's like the captain's quarters back here. Everything a little bit higher. There we go. It's kind of a cool little shape. And it might get lost to the Kraken arm or something. You don't know what'll happen. And if you don't like it, you just scrape it off like that. We'll eventually use it. I didn't end up liking mine. Let's go off a little bit further just so we can tell that we're, the back end of the boat is up into the horizon. It's up into all that color. It's really being shaken about, this boat. It's even on a downward angle like this, like it's going to come in and crash into the going to go nose into the water, you know what I mean? Now let's make you have to make sure our masts are perspectively correct. Right, I'm just going to put a straight line with the palette knife right now. And again, if you can't see it right now, don't worry too much. This one's going to be a little bit taller. It's going to go down. Then we're going to highlight that ship. We're going to paint our sails going a certain way. The sails could be up right now. You could just have your beams running across. This one's going that way. That one's going this way. Same thing, you could have one of them cracked in half and broken and fallen down, which would look really cool. We might actually have to do that. Okay, I'm going to take the dark sienna and the titanium white, and we're just going to come down and just make a kind of a wood color. Just don't over mix it, right? I don't know if you can see, or how well we can see, all these different browns in the same little pile. Okay, you're going to wipe off the knife so it's nice and clean. Come back, scrape up just a little square of it onto our knife, and then we can go back and highlight our boat. And this is where it really comes alive. Okay, I want to highlight it sideways because all the beams on the, all the wood paneling on the ship is going to be along the side. And you can even just touch it and tap it away like that. Remember, the whole thing doesn't need to be covered because we're going to be painting a giant Kraken around it. The waves are going to get bigger. It's going to be all sorts of crazy. And this isn't even as big as I want it to be. Like, what happened to all of this wave back here, Josh? What happened? I wanted a bigger ship. So what do? Do we fix it? Or do we just add the Kraken, who's much bigger than the ship, and sort of do it that way? Now that these masts are here, I don't want to, they're kind of right in the middle. And if we extend it, they're going to be sort of off-center. Or if we fill it over to here, the ship's going to have to be there, and then it's going to be this whole giant thing. So I kind of like it where it is. That'll be an easy thing. I'll show you how we can adjust those waves, bring them closer, and different things you can do to fix it, right? Take a little bit of that brown and white, and just highlight the edges of our mast of our ship. Now you should be able to see the ship coming together back there. Now if we're going to do that, let's do that little bit at the back again for the captain. I'm just going to have it be a different color. You see how it's that darker brown, or the darker shadowy color? So we have the brown coming up, and then all of a sudden it goes into shadow, and we don't know what it is, but our brain knows it's the top of the ship, maybe where the captain's quarters is, or maybe the helm is up there, right? On the wheel. Maybe this is up here on the deck, the top of the deck up there. So you never know. That's why I love making up little stories for mine, and that way, it helps you kind of come up with your next idea. What else is going to happen, right? Okay, now we need to get these perspectively right, these little straight beams. And remember, our boat's on an angle, mine is anyway, it's coming down into the water like that. So, they need to be almost straight. And it's actually going to go in front of that one, but it'll be behind. You know what I mean? I like it nice and kind of goopy on there. And that makes it look like the sails have been rolled up. Right? It's a really, really windy, terrible day out, or an evening. And the sails are all rolled up on the bottom right here. See what I mean? You get these cool little bits that are coming in. We got another section down here. A little bit smaller bit of wave, or a bit of mast for our ship, right? All these cool little things, and then our Kraken can come and break stuff and do all sorts of things with it. Let's see, put a little bit of our wood color on the top there just to sort of highlight it. And then we're going to come back and make sure that our beam is in the front, right? If you put something over the top, that indicates that it's going to be behind and be backwards. So this is looking really cool. It looks like a really beat up ship that's about to be eaten. Even a little bit brighter in some areas with that, a little bit of that white. If you go, some of the times you go deeper down in your pile, you get all these cool things. This guy is in front of that guy. Same here. That other one's behind. Looks really cool. We look at just that deep dark brown if we can. Just a little bit, just like that. You don't need a whole lot of detail. This guy's little, right? We're on a little canvas. He's little. We're way back there. Man, this is going to look cool though, guys. And again, you don't need a whole lot of detail. If you want to have one of your bits of mast be broken or something, you can put, a little piece off the side, like it's cracked in half, and then our Kraken can kind of break those things and just really chew the ship up. It's going to be fantastic. And remember, not too many highlights, because it's going to get really muddy if we started, putting a lot of splash up there. Now we're going to come over here, get a little bit of our white, a little bit of our, right on the end of that dirty brush we've been making here, and just go through a little bit of liquid white. So our paint is just a touch thinner than what's up here, right? And maybe we can make all these giant bits of splash on our ship. This is why you don't cover your entire ship with highlights, because it's going to start to stick to all of the light paint that we have on the brush and start to change and be all messy. There we go. Just a crazy little bit of splash, right? Maybe he's stuck out on the reef out here. Now we're going to take our bit of water down around the bottom. Just very lightly pull it out. You can even get a different brush or clean this brush. You don't want to have all the white paint that's up here in our waves come out into the thing. You only just want a little bit of that. Just little differences. And if you do end up getting too white in a certain area, you can always go back in with a little phthalo green or phthalo blue, depending on what side you put yours on, and just change the color just a little. Now we have this raging water with our broken down ship out there about to be eaten by a Kraken. It's going to be fantastic. And we'll make these waves come up over there. Not trying to cover the ship or anything, but you do want to have this bit of dark line in between. I feel it really helps, keep everything. And if you wanted to come up higher, you can. We're going to sort of work with it like this. And then maybe back here there's a bit more choppy water. But we're not going all the way to the ends of the canvas, right? Over here, remember, it's not so crazy that we can see everything. Maybe this guy comes down. You never know. Maybe it connects in the side right there. Like yours is going to be totally different, and that's the coolest part about this painting, is no one's will look like mine. I don't care if you tried it for 100 years. It wouldn't look exactly the same, because everyone's is going to be a little bit different, and that's what's fantastic about it. It really is spectacular. Okay, now I want to just get enough just to cover over that dark line just a little bit. You don't want a lot of space in between that dark line. It looks really great. It's almost like there's a wave coming here. We're pushing the water this way, right? It's coming into the shore over here. If this is a shore, depends on what yours looks like. Bring some of that foam down, but just very lightly. Like we're not even, look, I could touch right here. It barely even deposits any paint because we're not using a whole lot. You don't need a whole lot to cover the black. The black wants to disappear. It wants to go away. But you can't let it. You can't let that happen. Alright, now for our Kraken, guess what shadow color we're going to use? Oh, the same one we've been using, right? Make it nice and easy for you. Blue, crimson, and black. Just like this. Mix it all up so it's this nice dark color. You don't want to leave this part marbled, right? You don't want to have a nice black line with a blue line and a crimson line. So you really want to mix them up until they're nice and crazy-like, right? Okay, now we're going to come down with our filbert brush, just on one side, and then the tip of the other side. So I just rotated it over. You can see the difference how full it is here versus just a little bit. And that's only so we make like a knife-like edge to the tip, right? Now we need to come and decide. Forget about what your ship looks like. Your ship is not there. Now we're painting octopus arms, okay? So don't look at your ship, right? You have to cover over some of it. It's a rule. You have to do it. So maybe this guy comes up, and we're going to try to stay out of your way. As we come up, very thin, right, using the edge, rotate, and as we come down, we're pushing harder so our octopus arm grows. See what I mean? You get that thicker bit down around the bottom. And we're going to highlight that too, so don't worry about it. We'll do a couple more. Maybe this guy is up here, and he's just about to come down and crash over. Bam, crash over the ship. It's growing up all around, and it's going to come and get it, right? The guys are like, oh no, please. Okay, maybe this guy comes off the side, very thin at the top, and then the more we come down, the more we push until we have this giant arm coming up out of the water and grabbing our ship, right? Very cool. You can even sneak in another one right in between, go almost straight down, and then don't skip over your, you're trying to put this one behind the ship. Very sneakily, okay? And then you can always come back in with some of that brown highlight color and just get that little bit of mass back in front of that other arm behind there. Always little things you can do. Now, you don't have to paint 8 arms. It's not you don't have to have all 8 of them up there. You really don't. I kind of like it the way it is. It's like they're coming up and then they're about to smash down. Or maybe this one, just as we came over that bit, has a bit broken on him. Or maybe he's got the littlest bit of the tentacle kind of hanging over the edge of this bit. And then it's, it's kind of like it's grabby. So we just rotated, kind of pushed the paint out of the way. It's very cool. Very neat. Now, if you want to have nice, sharp tips to it, then get some of our liquid clear or your low on our mineral spirits. Come back with our liner brush, a little micro liner brush, and then we can just add small little tips to them. So it's very, they become very sharp. However it was growing. Very sharp little things. So it gets very pointy at the end, right? Lovely. Okay, now we need to decipher what's, where is the light coming from? In this painting, it's coming from that side. So that means that this tentacle is going to be all in the front. So we need to have those nice, beautiful suckers, right? The little suckers on the front. This guy maybe will just do the suckers on the inside left. This guy maybe just on the inside right. And this one is, all we can see is the back of him. So we won't put any suckers on our little guy in the middle, right? So what are we going to do? Let's take the liquid white and go into our yellow, because the yellow and the liquid white are going to stand out really well in this nice bright color. And why don't we come down just on the inside, so the bottom of him, when you're up top, and then just the left. Right? Maybe it comes down and it changes this way. And you want to make it a fair amount of room, right? So maybe 2 lengths of your script liner if it's pushed flat and as far, pressed out as it can get. And just from that, I can see from here in the camera. It looks amazing. You can try to get it all the way to the end if you want. It doesn't have to go to the end. But it even looks like on this side, we can even stand to have a little bit more come out. See what I mean? Now that becomes the inside of the tentacle that he's going to reach down and grab on. Now you can see why we're not going to highlight this one here in the middle, because all we can see is the back of it. We can't see the tentacles on the inside of it. Very, very cool. It's turning into a great little piece already. And just from how big it is, if we put some beach in here, that's going to make it feel even more gigantic just from how close it feels to us. Okay, so on this guy, why don't we come up here and we'll throw the light area on the inside of him. Again, as we get down to the bottom, I want to have it a little bit more space, so we can add more little suckers and stuff. It's going to be hard to see your suckers if you don't have any light color up here, which is why we're adding the yellow in. So we can go back over and pop in little red dots or whatever, and it'll look like these faraway suckers. Okay, this guy back here is like all front. Okay, so the majority of him needs to be yellow in the front. Try to take and just blend that out like that, just like that. And that way we have a little bit of black on either side of that bit of yellow, and this guy's up in the front. And you can see I didn't go all the way to the tip on him, because if you can imagine, the tip comes up and it curls, so now there's going to be a disconnect of colors. It's not going to be a nice blend. It's really looking good. Now, in order to make him stand out, my favorite octopus is like that yellow ring, the blue ringed octopus. Super nice. Really pretty octopus. But he's not a giant squid. But we're going to take our blue and we're going to highlight the top of it now. All right, staying along that yellow line, leaving a little bit of dark in between. And now that blue is going to look like a little bit of light reflecting on the back, the wet side of these tentacles, right? You know, all this wet water kind of falling off. So this guy, this whole guy, is going to be that blue color. And all it is our Prussian blue and liquid white together. Okay, so the whole guy, except for just a little line of dark around the back. If you just put a little line of dark, right, just leave it. Leave a little line of dark on either side and fill in the middle. Then we're going to have this nice shiny sea monster skin, right? It's blue on the outside and yellow on the inside. Now I'll come on to the outside of this guy. Again, leaving, we're coming up to the yellow. That's fine. You can touch your yellow line. But you gotta leave a line, the teeniest, tiniest little line of dark paint out along the edge. That's why we put the dark paint down first, so it would still be there when we got done with this, right? You don't want to cover, and it'll make it look like, when an artist draws that little black line around a figure, so it's not just color, it separates it from everything else. And makes it look kind of 3D. That's what you want that black line there for. It just makes it look rounded because it's another different color. There we go. So we've covered the outside of our octopus's arms anyway, which means, again, for this back one, if it came up and curled over, now the bit that we can see is the outside arm because we can't see the tentacles. So for this guy, I'm just going to add a little strip of blue, just like that. So small. No one will probably ever even notice it, but you can tell if all of these are blue on the outside, then that blue being there signifies that it is curled over, and now this is the outside, right? Is that easy to understand? Is it, or are you like, Josh, just leave it alone? Okay, we're going to get our liquid white again with our alizarin crimson. I like putting it up here on the top of the palette just so it stays away from any of the other colors that it might mix with. Just want it nice and wet. Not too sloppily wet though. Still a little bit thick, but wet enough that it'll stick. So you go up and you test it out into our yellow area. And if you can get one to stick, then you have enough liquid white. If you can't get one to stick, then you don't have enough. It's not thin enough. So go back and get more liquid white, mix it in, so you get this nice deep pink purple color. Right, deep pink color. It'll be lovely. Now if you have enough liquid white, then you can make your little circles and your paint will stay there. But you only want to stay inside your yellow area. So if you have to make little teeny tiny dots in certain places, then that's what you have to do until you can get to an area where you have more room. I even like popping some just half inside and then half into our background sky. And that again makes it look like it's protruding from the arm and it looks more realistic, more 3D. Right? And you You can always go back. Get more liquid white. If it doesn't start to stick, you're gonna drive yourself crazy trying to make it stick if it doesn't want to stick. If it's not gonna stick, it's not gonna stick. Just leave it alone. Okay, a couple little dots there. Now we really need to have thin paint back here and a very small tipped brush, because we're only gonna make these ones just look, they're further away in our mind than these other two arms anyway. So they just need to be small little dots. If yours on a much bigger canvas and you can actually paint little circles and all the details, please do and send it to me. I would love to see. I almost want to do one where, like, literally, you can't even see the top of the arms, right? Because we're so in close that it's only this bit with the ship and the arms coming up. It'd be great. Really would be great. That's what I want to see, you guys. So somebody do that. Do one large enough that we can see everything. Just getting more of that same pink color, the crimson and the liquid white together. Right? Now you don't want to do too many tentacles or too many suckers. They'll start to get all muddled up. You'll lose all the space, and then it won't seem like they're spaced apart, and they'll just look weird. So don't do too many. Kind of skip down. I mean, we wouldn't be able to see every single one of these anyway if it was in real life. You know what I mean? Okay, now you're probably looking at these arms going, how are we going to transition these arms into the water? Well, if they sprung up and climbed up like that with all this moving water, I would imagine there would be a little bit of splash, just like before. Okay, so we'll put, and that's why we came down through the splash, so we can drop it down another layer. All right, a little bit of splash on that guy, leaving room, leaving just that one little 1/8 inch spot of color back there makes this arm look closer than the splash. So just don't do too much. It's my one rule. Don't do too much. Need a little bit of liquid white to get it to stick over here. Just like that. Now clear all that liquid white off. All right, otherwise we're going to have too much on my brush here. Just pull out to the side. Take the bottom of your little waves and pull them out in whichever way you think your water is going. And in our case, all the water is moving this way across the painting, coming into the shore. So, kind of do as you wish. But if you don't make them in the same sort of angle, then you get to the end and you're like, why does my brain hurt looking at this thing? I can't figure out why. So that is why. All right, I love this down here, how it's nice and sort of dark. We still have all these dark spaces. It's almost too much the same color for me, though, right? All this light green indicates to me a shallower water, right? So I want to put in some darker blue just around the edge of our guy, just so it just indicates that the water may be deeper here, out here, than it is down here at the shore. And you don't need to do too much, especially when you come in with straight blue like that. You're just asking for trouble because you're going to want to cover up all that black as well. All right, so we can take a little bit of our brush. Again, making those same little shapes, but now we're not trying to cover all the dark blue that we put down. Right? And you get this cool thing. And I'm so excited about what your guys' is going to look like. We have all this motion, all these waves coming in. Oh, it's really great. It really is great. You can take your sea foam and just kind of mess with it. But don't do too much. Don't go too far where we're past right here. I'm going to show you why. We're going to grab our palette knife, grab in some of that. That's why we made so much of this shadow color. You're like, why did you guys make so much? You just barely use the smallest little bit of it back here. Right. First, I need to fix these shadows, because our dark side is actually on the left. on the right, actually. Right, we got our sun back here casting all the shadow. I had my shadow on this side and my light on that side, which didn't make sense, so I had to switch it up. And it just makes it look a little bit more messy and cool anyway. It's really neat. Really love it. We got our 4 arms, actually 5 arms, we almost forgot. I knew we threw another little arm in there. Okay, I'm going to take that yellow color again. This guy's like, he's like hung over the side of the boat. See what I mean? So like his little tentacles, his suckers are attached to the front of the boat. I almost forgot about him back there. I would have been so mad. Okay, a little bit of that pink color again mixed with our liquid white just so we can add like maybe 3-4 tentacles on this guy. 4 suckers on this guy. Not too many. But when someone's like really looking close at it or they zoom in on your picture, they're going to want to see something there. So, give them something to look at. Put a little bit of black and just make it nice and pointy as it was going down. The last little tip of the arm. Looks really cool. Okay, so we made up all this shadow color. What are we going to use it for, guys? Well, we're going to come over here and just about not above your ship or your Kraken arms, okay? So I'm going to go just below the top of mine. You're like, oh no, and then look, we come in with this bit of rock. This cool little piece of rock. Maybe it comes straight down over here, or it pops up, or we don't like that. We come and cover over all of that. And then right down here before our waves, right, we go underneath our waves with our rock. And that way, that makes all those waves make sense, right? It's all crashing because we're coming into the shore. Okay, now I'm not even going to blend that out with my brush. I pulled it about to here as far as the paint would let me pull it out. Okay, this is turning very much into a palette knife painting from here on out. Now we're going to come in, we're going to scrape up some more little bit down in there. Now we can highlight ours. A little bit of brown, a little bit of the titanium white. And just don't overmix it, right? We have all these, look at it, we cut it, all these cool colors in there. Take a little bit more of our white if we want it. Some areas can be very bright if it's getting hit with a bit of light. Some can be very dark. So just don't overdo it. Okay, now again, we didn't pull it out like we normally would in a normal landscape. And that's because a lot of this is going to remain dark. It's not going to even show. All right, we're going to have little strokes, little bits of pull. Maybe this guy comes down in this direction and he pulls back in here. And again, whatever we can't see or whatever we don't paint, our mind is going to make it up for us, what lives back there, based on what our details look like. So if you've got all these little jagged bits of rock in yours and these different colors and different angles, then our brain's going to think on its own, that must be just like this back here, very sharp and jagged. But we just can't see it, right? Let's go. And you can shake them down in little Z patterns. You can do all sorts of stuff. And this guy comes down this way. And then the bottom, the back is in the shadow. Maybe he needs a little bit more of the dark brown. Right? You can change it up. Change up the way it looks, just right on the fly. Leave dark areas in between your colors though, right? And underneath. Especially if we're doing a scene like this where we have a little bit of flat rock that comes out, maybe these waves are just constantly crashing over it. It's got to have a little bit of dark underneath. So don't get rid of it. Let's see. There's so much glare on this canvas. There we go. I just want a little bit of kind of darker brown bits, and they just give you a little bit more depth. Look at all the depth in that rock right there. And it's because we did what? We didn't paint it, right? We tried not to paint it. That is the key for today. Try not to do it. Maybe this guy's got another little leg, or a bit of his rock that's exposed a little bit further down, right? All these different colors mixed in. I had a little bit of blue with the white in my pile that got in there. A little bit of the phthalo green on accident got in there. So it doesn't all have to be the same color, and it's nice that it changes and becomes a different color. Really cool. All right, let's get a little bit of liquid white again. Come into our titanium white with the blue on it here. And then we'll come in and maybe over here, just a little bit of a splash happens. Maybe out on the edge, maybe over here, and maybe back in here. It's just too dang dark to see. All right, so we're very lightly going to pull this out to the side. You can even jiggle it out. You know what I mean? Jiggle it. Get and jiggle with it. Nah. There we go. right? You just jiggle it out. And we're trying not to paint the scene, right? We don't want to cover over anything. We want to leave the majority of the black back in here. Especially as we get back behind this rock, you can't see a single thing. Is this water that we're in? Is it a beach that we're on? Like, what is happening? We could be, 50 feet out into the water where it's still deep enough that a kraken could live over here. Okay, now we're going to come back to that shadowy color. We're going to do the same thing just on the opposite side, but we're going to come down a little bit lower. It's going to be a different shape, right? If this guy's over here, we need to come lower down than here to make this guy look closer to me. And it needs to be higher as well, so we need to start up higher than our giant squid. All right, come down, all these little humps and bumps, and maybe it comes straight down like that. It can do whatever you want it to do. And we come down in, there's another little hump and bump, or it flattens out over here. Really pulling it down, kind of mushing it, right? Taking the whole knife and just smushing it in there. Really trying to cover over all the color that's back behind it. And you can take a brush and blend it out as well. But I like doing this part with the palette knife just because you get these different random deposits of color. Look, even how it is right there, we just came down and for some reason the paint ran out, but over here it didn't, and now it's trapped this little blue pool at the base of the rock, which looks really neat. Like, why cover over that? You know what I mean? You have to kind of go slow enough to where you'll be able to see stuff like that. Yeah, just blending the back side. I'm leaving all this nice and thick, how we put it on with the palette knife, and I've only blended the back half just to cover over all the blue that was on the canvas back there. And you can see, that's really only the bit of dark that we really saved. We didn't really do a good job if we were trying not to paint the scene, right? Because we didn't leave a lot of dark back in here. At least I didn't. So you can take a little bit of black and crimson on your brush and just mix them up real well so you only have this dark color. And maybe come in and just every so often you can pop in a bit of dark. Wherever you want to have it. You don't have to have it all be this bright color. Right? Maybe it gets only light as the water's getting closer, as the thing's coming up. And then we have this darkness back here. It's very late in the evening, right? On the sea, and all the lights playing tricks on our brains. Okay, but if you ever have a spot where you went over and you went a little bit crazy and you put too much color, you can always go back with the a little dark shadow mixture and pop in little holes in our seafoam, right? That's what it looks like to me. We got a little patch of foam in different places, and then we covered it in with the dark. Our waves look fantastic over here. Just kind of pulling them out straight sideways. We've got our whole nother big rock that comes down lower now than the rest, and then we can really highlight this area with like yellowy foam and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's really cool. Now, I don't like having big fat sections or big lines of dark, so I'm just going over mine, just kind of covering over half the dark with a little bit of that white paint. And it didn't even go blue or any other color. It almost starts to go gray because it's mixing in with that black. But you don't have to worry about it. There we go. Man, that looks really cool. It's almost like there's this big swell. The creature's coming up and it's pushing all the water away so it could pour right off of our canvas into the room, right? Alright, now on this side I want to add a little bit of the cad yellow in with my brown. It's just going to change it up and give it a different sort of color than what we have over here. And then I want to have, one side of being a lot darker brown and a little bit lighter color. Just helps you if you grab from your light side and you're like, okay, gonna kind of just drag around the edge here because only the light would hit up there. As we come down a little bit further, we'll switch to that darker color. And again, we're trying not to cover everything, right? We don't want to cover the whole mountain. We want to just cover the edges. Damn, it doesn't even have to be perfect. You can leave it just like that if you wanted to. It's very mysterious. What's over here? We can't really see. But that's why I made the darker brown colors, so we can come back in, leaving a bit of that real super dark, and then add another little layer of our rock that comes down here. All right, and then maybe for some reason a little bit brighter color ended up on this little section. Maybe it was bouncing off the water. All right, and this guy comes out into the open ocean just like that. We've got a little bit of a rock that comes out here and hides that little pool back there. It's all these cool things you can do. Drag the edge a little bit. We're not trying to cover everything. We can leave this whole giant bit of black in there, and then our mind will sort of figure it out for us. What's it supposed to be? This is the best part about painting, you guys. It's really great. We have a whole other bit of rock that comes out and sits out here on the front. Put our dark brown kind of shadow, and then just very lightly over the top of it, that lighter color. You get this whole little thing that sticks out like that. Now we can take our liquid white, maybe throw it in with a bit of that light color blue that we've just been mixing with our white. Maybe throw some phthalo green in too. We'll get these cool little colors. Throw our yellow in there. Now we have, as long as you don't overmix it, you got 3 different colors of this cool little foam. So we can come in, look at that beautiful bit. Oh my. Now these bits of water don't have to connect, remember. It might not even be water. You don't even really want them to be super straight either. You know what I mean? Like that may even be too straight. But I like not picking up the knife and just kind of randomly depositing these beautiful bits of this foam. And it's really cool if you stay with it and you can, you know, keep the knife together, keep it everything looking like it's flowing all in little patches, but without covering too much. It's really, really fantastic. And then you'll have this nice, thick, kind of textured painting. Right, maybe down here, it's got a little bit on this side. And it's just kind of floating wherever it wants. It could be a bit of, see how it just came? It wanted to be over there with its buddies. It just came floating out. All over the place. Really cool. Add a little bit more kind of bluish ones back here. Get a little bit of seafoam coming. And just because we don't pick up the knife, it kind of deposits randomly in certain places. But we're trying to skip down. We're trying to save dark areas in there, right? You don't want it to be too crazy. Now this one almost looks like we could have a bit of just beach in here, which would make sense why all this stuff is nice and churned up and crazy. Let's see. I'm going to add a little bit of brown over here, but it sort of went nuts into my red pile. There we go. And that's the best part too. Now, we've got a little bit of brownish, reddish sand at the base of our little hill here. Very cool. A little bit of red and with our brown again. Just right on the brush. And I'm just going to pull from the side, and I'm not even going to connect them. Right? It's only there. This bit down here, we don't know where the beach goes. Don't know what's happening. I'm just very lightly going over this. I'm going to pull it down just a touch in different places if I can. And just swipe over it. Now that could be a lot of sheen on black sand. You could have all sorts of different things. You know, you don't even have to have yours out on the land. And again, I'm trying to keep it very dark on the edges. But it's very cool. I really like it. I like it so much that we're actually going to take that black and cover over our brown, because I don't want the water. I don't want the land out here. Yeah, I want to have, like, we're out, you know, we're off the shore, we're out. Maybe we're in the lifeboat. We're trying to get away from that ship, and we're in the lifeboat over here, right? Okay, now this rock over here just isn't as deep and big as I want it to be. So let's pull it out. Like that, we'll kind of go down. Get a little bit of our highlight color on him over here, a little bit over there, a little bit over there. And now we've got this cool little little thing. And again, if we don't like it, we can shape it. Right? You don't have to just live with the shape. There we go. Go back to our last of our little green, yellowish, bluish mixture. And maybe over here, a little bit that comes out. I want to make it thicker here, where I had that line before, since now we're out floating in the water. And maybe on this side, we got a little bit of action. There we go. Again, it doesn't have to touch, doesn't all have to, you don't want it to all be the same color, right? Remember, I like mine dark down there. I like it nice and thick from our palette knife here, though. You want it nice and thick. And you want it to be a random shape. You don't want to have it be, this perfect thing. You got to have it be random. It's very cool. Now, if you're ever in an area like this where you have too much of that, just take a little bit of blue on either side and just split up the foam, right? You can't have it all be foam. I know we want to. It looks really cool. Maybe there's a bit of deeper, darker shadows out here. It looks really cool if it's all foam, but you gotta separate it. You don't want it to all be the same. Otherwise, there's no differences in color. Right, class. Excellent. Good job. Alright, let's take a little bit of our liquid white onto our fan brush again. We're going to make this last little bit of splash. Maybe, I don't know, down in here there's a little bit. It's like crashing up against the thing there. We get a little bit over here too. It's coming in, it's pouring in. You can do all sorts of things however you want, right? Change it up. I really love that little pool in there though. It looks very cool. And that's pretty much it, guys. It's been a nice little, how long have we been going for? Nice little hour and 6 minutes, or hour 8 minutes, whatever it said. It was too small for my eyes to see it. But it's fantastic. I really love it. We worked with the palette knife. We're going to be doing that a lot in the foreground of Module 6, so as we lead in, right? Work with the palette knife, and we have, a separation. We have nice softness, a lot of texture, all sorts of different things, and it really looks fantastic. We could have even added, a closer up, thicker cloud in the front, but it looks really great the way it is. I love our little sea foam. Right? Remember, you can always go back in with dark and kind of fix that sea foam and change it or punch little holes into it or make little shapes out of it and all sorts of different things. So, it doesn't have to look like mine, right? You just want it to look like yours, and I say that all the time. So, I'm sort of sad that we only have one more class, and then I won't see you guys anymore. I'm not going to be able to come hang out with you. I mean, I'll still be there, I guess. So, in effect, I'm not sad because you'll just be able to replay me over and over and over again. And that'll be fantastic. All right. Again, the more and more you play with it, the more you're going to end up, especially when I go back and I watch the videos to edit them and zoom in and out and show you all the details and stuff. And then I'm yelling at myself through the screen going, Josh, stop painting. It looks perfect. And then I do this one thing and I go, oh my God, you killed it. That was it. That was it. You killed it. I had it. It was looking fantastic. And you murdered it to death. There we go. Bam. Just want a little bit of bright in there. So the longer that I have brushes in my hands, the worse it is for the painting. Almost want to do it quickly. It don't have to be fast, but you want to do it and get it out of here, get it away from you. All right, let's add in our little family of seabirds, right? Or in this case, yeah, seabirds. They're normally just normal birds. Again, if you haven't had a yardstick by now, I'm sure many of these little small details are going to be difficult. Get yourself a yardstick. They're a couple bucks. You can find them in my Amazon store and or Home Depot or wherever. They're going to be one of these, and it's just a perfect thing that you can rest your hand on when you're making small details is all. All right, let's put the family over here today. There we go. They're not very bright with that color, Josh. them to stand out, right? There we go. Do a little bit of white over the top of them. A little bit like that. These are nice and big ones today. There we go. Nice big ones. Let's put the little girl, little Bailey back here. She's there. She's just far behind. She's back behind mom and dad, staying safe, right? There we go. A little bit of light gray color, just to put them in there. That's really all you need. All you need, and you guys can add as many of your family as you want. You know, I have me, my wife, my daughter in every single painting. Sometimes they're going this way or they're flying in different orientations, but it's all pretty much the same. Okay, you guys know where I'm going to sign, probably over here this time. I'm really excited to see what yours looks like. I really am, so please send them into my Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/happylandscapeart or search at Happy Landscape Art. You can find me on Etsy and Amazon as well by searching at Happy Landscape Art. So the Etsy store is etsy.com/happylandscape, etsy.com/shop/happylandscapeart. And then there's amazon.com/shop/happylandscapeart, okay? For some reason, Happy Little Landscapes works for some platforms, and the other ones it's too long, so it becomes Happy Landscape Art. But for YouTube, go to youtube.com/happylittlelandscapes. And then for Instagram, instagram.com/happylittlelandscapes, or search the @happylittlelandscapes tag, right? And you'll be able to find my stuff. I have all sorts of groups that we manage that I can guide you to once we're, onto Facebook. A little bit of extra seafoam line there. And, that we have tons of really supportive groups for beginners, and people that are absolute beginners or more moderate, painters, or more intermediate or advanced people or professionals like me, right? So a lot of us in the group, and everybody's really helpful and really talented and is really, eager to help answer your questions. So something you can check out, and you can find that through my Facebook page, facebook.com/happylandscapeart, right? Which will take you to Happy Little Landscapes Facebook page. Get your hats, of course. You can see I'm not wearing the red hat today. The red hat is like my signature hat. And then sometimes I think the red hat has just run out of good ideas, so I have to switch hats. And then when I do, bam, you get this beautiful thing that just pops out of the canvas, right? So, besides that, I'm sure you guys just scroll past everything I say at the end. I really appreciate you buying the class and hanging out with me and letting me come into your home and hang out with you and kind of show you how to create these just really fantastic, beautiful scenes that we lay down, right, with ease, right? So, and you should be at the level now where you could be painting something very similar to this and be super proud of it and want to show it around to everybody. So, if you do, tag my Facebook page at Happy Landscape Art, which will bring you to Happy Little Landscapes, right? Shop my Etsy store to get your hats or shirts. You can see kind of vain of me to have my own face on my t-shirt, right? It's just a promotional item that I get paint on, okay? I don't wear it out in public often. Okay, so besides that, we're going to see you in the next module. Get ready for that wicked skull down here. We spend a good 30 or 40 minutes just kind of making that skull look realistic and have the water pouring off it and out of its eyeballs. And oh, it's a great painting. So hopefully you've never painted a Kraken before, and now you've had a stab at it and you realize it's really not that difficult if we just think about angles of the arms, right? Just like with the water and the rocks and everything else. And then we'll really get into our palette knife down here at the bottom and just scrape it in. I hope yours turned out just as well. So no more blabbing. We're going to catch you on the next module, number 6, and then that'll be the very last day of class, right? Until you buy a whole nother set of classes. So until then, we're going to catch you later. Talk to you. Bye.